move at all. He looked like Pop Staples. Y'all be doing it. Y'all be doing it. Man, get him a hand, please. It is good to be back with you all. We left on December the 19th, about 4 o'clock in the afternoon, going to D.C. to visit our kids and grandkids. Thursday morning, we missed Lowry. We weren't even gone the whole 24 hours before we missed our church family. Y'all supposed to say amen on that. And while we were gone, in case y'all didn't notice, I wasn't preaching. But the pulpit wasn't empty. Y'all had church. I know because I listened to it. Minister Campbell preached a great Christmas sermon. And then last week I was back. But Minister Small preached a good sermon, a great sermon. And then if you wasn't here on Monday night, Minister Hope preached a great message. So I thank God for you all, that you all can stand up here and study, pray, preach, and there ain't no drop off. The word is consistent, it's powerful. And so thank God for the preachers who bring the word. I want to bring something to your attention. Everybody got a bulletin? You got a bulletin? Let me see it. Just wait. Hold it up. Okay. Very good. Open it up. Look on that second page. In the green. Look like that. At the top it says vision, mission, and value statements. How many of y'all been at Lowry for more than 5 years? How many of y'all been at Lowry for more than 10 years? 20. Okay, if I asked y'all what the mission vision is of Lowry, could y'all tell me what it was?
Eyes open, everybody else close your eyes.
I didn't think so.
Everybody else close their eyes.
And why am I saying this? This is the first Sunday of 2019. And for the next couple of weeks, we're going to talk about the mission and vision and values of Lowry. And why is that important? It's important because you need to understand why you exist. Why God spoke to a handful of folks when the base was closing and said, we want to continue to meet, but there's a reason why we want to continue to meet. He gave you a purpose and a mission for starting this fellowship in this congregation. And you have to know what it is in order to fulfill the mission that God is giving you. How many of y'all Mission Impossible fans? Well, the mission is possible because of God, but he always calls some people and have them involved in the mission. And so if we're going to be successful in doing what God has called us to do, we got to know what the mission is, and then we got to accomplish the mission. So over the next couple of weeks, we're going to be talking about the mission and vision and values that God has given us. And so our sermon for today is going to start with that, and we're going to start with Matthew 11, 28 through 30. Matthew 28, 11 through 30. We're going to read from the New King James Version. Matthew 11, verses 28, 29, and 30. Y'all got me on? How's that? No? It's okay. There's a couple of mics up here. We can work with that. How about that? I'll just use my big mouth. Okay, when you all found it, can we read that together? Matthew 28, 18 through 20. The New King James says, come to me, all you who labor and are heavy laden, and I will give you rest. Take my yoke upon you and learn from me, for I am gentle and lowly in heart, and you will find rest for your souls. For my yoke is easy and my burden is light. Amen. You may be seated. Now, my wife and I took some time off, middle of December. And y'all don't know this, but when I started working at Lowry in November, I didn't leave my other job. I had to finish out my other job, and it carried me through the end of December. So for about 6 weeks, right up until the 19th, I was working about 17 to 18 hours a day. So I was doing both jobs. Y'all could tell by my hair, I'm not a spring chicken. I got a couple of years under my belt, so I get tired. I get weary. Got tired. Got weary. And so we took some time and went and visited our kids and our grandkids. And I know some of y'all don't get tired and y'all don't get weary. And y'all don't know what real rest look like. So I want y'all to take a look at the screen so y'all can see what rest look like, not what it sound like. See, that's what rest look like. We look like we in Whoville. No, we got these striped pajamas on, but y'all can see Grumpy. No, that says Grampy. That ain't Grumpy. I was Grumpy. But that's our family and our granddaughters and our son, and that's what we were doing, and we got some much-needed rest. So I want to talk to you all today from this thought, resting in Christ. Resting in Christ. When you look at this text and you have to ask yourself this question, what does it have to do with our mission and vision statement? What does it have to do with this? Lowry, I need you all to understand something that, do y'all know that Gallup, who does a lot of research and they do polls, says that of the 48 contiguous states, Colorado is ranked 39th in terms of religion, of those who have a faith in Jesus Christ or who attend church regularly. 48 states, we're tied at 39th. And so, Lowry, when we talk about why we exist, and this scripture is here, we must understand that the state of Colorado, the harvest is ripe, it's ready. But the question we have to ask is, why aren't people coming to church? Why don't people feel the need to have a relationship with Jesus Christ or attend church regularly? Why is that? And I think Matthew 11, 28, 29, and 30 gives us a picture of what was happening in Jesus' day. And I think it's a great reflection of what's happening in our state and in our city. When you look at the text, this rest, where does it come from? I'm not talking about physical rest, but where does it come from? In verse 28, what you have is you have a call by Jesus Christ. He simply says, come to me. Come to me. He didn't say come to church. Church hadn't been established yet. He said, come to me. One of the things that we do as Christians, one of the habits that we have is we tell people to come to church. We tell people to come to church who haven't even come to Christ yet. People who have come to church who've never come to Christ might be filled with a demon. And that demon will come and take a seat right next to you. I don't want that. I don't want demons just to show up in church because they'll wreak havoc up in here. We want people to come to Christ. And Jesus gave an invitation for people to come to him. He said, come to me. Come to me. He issues an invitation for people to come to him. And what's this invitation all about? First of all, you got to look at the prerequisites. He says in verse 28, he says, come to me, all those who have a college degree, right? Come to me, all those who have a job. Come to me, all those who got a brand new suit, shoes, shirt, and tie. Come to me, all those who have gone through new members class. Come to me, all of those people who have rich pedigree in history, that you come from the right family. Isn't that what he said? No, he didn't say that. There's no prerequisite for coming to Christ. He said, come to me, but he says the invitation is for some people. And the requisites for people coming to Christ, he says, all you who labor and heavy laden. All you who labor and heavy laden. Now, he wasn't talking about everybody that got a job. That's what you have Labor Day for. Those of you who have a job, you get a break on Labor Day. That is not what he's talking about. When he says, all you who labor and are heavy laden, he is talking to the people of that day who were beat down by the religious leaders of that culture and that society. They had laid weights on the people that the people could not carry. They had all of these religious restrictions, rules, and regulations that people had to follow. They had the do's and the don't list. With no relationship. No way of following Christ. And what was happening to the people was that they were getting tired and they were getting frustrated. The word actually means that they were exhausted, trying to be religious. Worn out. Not physically, but spiritually. Depressed, frustrated, in despair, throwing up their hands and saying, why? I can't do this. I keep making the same mistakes over and over again. I keep committing the same sins over and over again, and I don't know how to stop. And I don't know where to turn, because when they turned to the religious leaders, they gave them more rules to follow. And Jesus says, all of you all who are just exhausted with trying to do church, come to me and I will give you rest. Stop trying to be a good person. Stop working at it. Come to me. All you who labor, who strive and work at trying to follow the rules and regulations, stop it. Come to me. I'll give you rest. All those who are heavy laden. The heavy laden talks about what you put in the belly of a ship, the cargo of a ship. Or if you work for UPS or any of the trucking companies, they have a bill of lading. It says, this is what's inside. This is the cargo. This is the weight. And the religious leaders began to pile up the weight. Continue to pile on the weight of the rules and the regulations, and the people could not bear the weight. They couldn't carry the weight, and their legs began to wobble. They began to breathe heavy and hard, and they got tired. And what happens when you get tired? You give up and you quit. Jesus says, stop it. Come to me, and I will give you rest. When he talks about that, what does that word rest mean? There's an invitation from Jesus Christ for people to come to him to be refreshed, to recover. Jesus promises rest and refreshing for those who will come to him. That word rest means to cause or permit one to cease from any movement or labor in order to recover and collect his strength. Jesus says, if you come to me, I promise you, you will get this in return. Now, it's interesting to me that the people that Jesus says, come to me and I will give you rest, but the religious leaders had a different attitude. In Matthew 23, verse 4, Jesus says this, for they bind heavy burdens, hard to bear, and lay them on men's shoulders, but they themselves will not move one finger to help them. The religious leaders would pile on the weight, but they wouldn't help them. Jesus is saying, I'm not going to pile on the weight. In fact, I will carry the weight for you. Come to me because I will lift the load from you. There is an invitation from Christ for those of us who have been trying to do the right things and we're failing at it and we get discouraged and we want to walk away. Sometimes people walk away from the church because they are tired of trying to meet and live up to the traditions that are not even in the Bible. I'm a youth pastor. I'm a youth pastor at heart, and I can tell y'all what young people say. I don't even have a suit for my job. And y'all want me to wear a suit and tie in the church? I don't even own a suit. Why is that a requirement to come into the church? Why do I have to shine my shoes? Why do I have to do all of these things in order to be accepted by you? To be a part of your club, your clique? Why? And I'm done with it. So they just decide that they ain't coming no more. They are like the people in the Bible. They just throw up their hands and go, I'm done. Jesus says, but I'm not done with you. Come to me. I will give you rest. I do have regulations for you to follow, but they're not hard. This is important for us to understand the world and the community in which we live.
Okay. This is a game.
That we just can't invite people to church without understanding the struggle that they face, without understanding what's going on in their hearts and in their heads, and why this state ranks 39th when it comes to church attendance and believing in Christ.
1 and 10. Cannot be 0.
There must be a call for them to come to Christ, not just come to church.
It's a game.
But look what else he says.
And then wait till I tell you what number.
In verse 29,
When she gets ready to ask.
When I ask
you
If
hear
get it.
the character of Christ,
Don't say it. Make it really.
but you also hear some instructions. He says, take my yoke upon you
No, don't say
and learn
how
from
you
me.
got it.
Don't say how you got it.
Take my yoke upon you and learn from me. There's two things that you must do in order to get the rest that he's talking about. You must take his yoke, and then you must learn from him.
You're in charge for a second.
Elder Riley's a country guy. He's from the country. I'm from the city. He had to teach me about yokes because I don't know nothing about that. They don't have yokes where I'm from. If they do, nobody in town, I ain't seen nobody with no yokes. But I did a little research. And a yoke is a wooden apparatus that you would put on an animal in order for them to plow or pull a wagon or something. And so Jesus says, take my yoke upon you and learn from me. Now, whenever a farmer would yoke two animals together, he would take a mature oxen and a young oxen and yoke them together. So let me see if I can give y'all a picture of this. Young cook, come here.
You gotta tell me what number.
He like, oh, Lord.
What number do you see?
Bring that cane with you. We're going to make this work as our yoke. See, what they would do is the farmer would take the yoke, it's a wooden apparatus, and he would put it on the back or the neck of an oxen. But he would never match
It's at 10.
oxen of the same size. He'd always take a mature oxen, a bigger oxen, and yoke it up with a younger, immature oxen so that they could walk with me, bro. They would walk together, okay? And the mature oxen would teach the young oxen how to obey the master. That's the purpose of the yoke. And so Jesus says, y'all got to get yoked up with me so I can teach you how to walk and obey the master. Thank you. That's what's got to happen. So when we get yoked up, Jesus is saying, get yoked up with me so I'll show you how to obey the master. Then he says, put the thing on. Don't carry it in your pocket. Because if you carry it in your pocket, like cell phones, you'll put it down and leave it somewhere. See, if you take the yoke off, you can run off and do your own thing. See, oxen couldn't put the yoke on. The master had to put the yoke on. See, the oxen couldn't take the yoke off. Only the master could take the yoke off. So he says, put the yoke on. Then he says, learn from me. Learn how to obey the master, but you also have to learn
You got the game?
what I've written in my word.
You got the game?
You got to learn how to follow. So I will teach you. So as we walk together, you can learn what pleases God and what displeases God. Learn from me. If anybody knew right from wrong, if anybody knew what pleased God, Jesus would know.
1 out of 5.
That word learn really means like to become a disciple.
All right, 1 out of 5.
Come get yoked up with me and learn how to walk with me.
All right.
Learn how to follow in my footsteps. Learn how to obey the master. When the master say go right, you don't go, but left look better to me.
You guys want to try it?
The grass is greener on the left. Why ain't we going over there?
All right.
See, the young oxen can't pull the mature, bigger oxen over there. Learn from me. Put it on and then learn. Learn means you have to submit and surrender. You can't do your own thing when you yoked up to Christ. You have to do what Christ says. He will lead you where he wants you to go. When you yoked up with Christ, you can't run ahead of it. You can't lag behind. I don't know about y'all, but sometimes I've run ahead of Christ. And y'all know why I ran ahead of Christ? I wasn't yoked up with it. Sometimes I've lagged behind in faithlessness because I couldn't trust the Lord because I couldn't see him, I couldn't hear him, and I couldn't feel him, and I didn't know where he was taking me, and I suspect the place that he was taking me, I didn't want to go anyway because it didn't look fun. So I stayed behind. When you yoked up with Christ, you got to go where he goes. You got to do what he do. And when that happens, you and I begin to look like him. We begin to act like him. We begin to respond like him. But look what he says. Why should you get yoked up with Christ? Because of his character. He says, I am gentle and lowly in heart. I'm humble. I'm not proud and arrogant like the religious leaders. I'm not proud and arrogant like some of you all. I'm low and I'm meek. I'm humble.
So who has it? You got it? Yeah, she has it. You have it?
How many of y'all in here can dunk a basketball?
Who has it for sure? Who has that time for sure?
On a regulation rim.
I have another song. I have another game.
Can anybody here skip rope? Play jacks? Dance? See, there's some things y'all can do, some things you can't do.
Listen.
You don't have any space or room in your life to boast about anything. Because there's more things that you can't do than you can do. But Jesus can boast about anything because the only thing he cannot do is sin and fail. But he don't boast. He says, you should get yoked up with me because I'm humble and meek. I am the man. But I will never tell you I'm the man. I will just show you I'm the man. I'm humble and I'm meek. Anybody know what humility means? Humility does not mean thinking less of yourself. It just means thinking about yourself less. Jesus says, listen, I am thinking about you. When I want you to get yoked up with me, I am thinking about you. I am thinking about what's best for you. When he died on the cross, you was on his mind. This is the reason why you and I should want to be yoked up with him. One, because of his nature and his character. It is one of love and compassion and concern for his people. You and I can have the confidence in Jesus Christ that he is going to lead us in a good place, that you and I will always be better than what we were when we're yoked up with Jesus Christ. He says, when you get yoked up with me, guess what happens? You will find rest for your soul. When your body is tired, you could take a nap. You could drink a Red Bull because they say it gives you wings. I don't know about that because I have never drinking a Red Bull. But where do you find rest for your soul? Your soul is that immaterial part of you. It's that inside of you. That is that part that takes more than a nap to recover from. That's that part of you that you can't touch, you can't see, that the doctor can't give you medicine for. He says, I will give you rest for your souls. How many of y'all need rest for your souls? How many of y'all been tired just trying to do right, Just trying to keep your hand on the plow and not look back. You looking for your help, and your help is nowhere to be found. Lord, where my relief? Where the second shift at? But they don't come. Why do I keep bumping my head against this wall? Why do I keep doing this? You need rest for your soul. The answer to that question is found in being yoked with Jesus Christ. Because of who he is. Can I tell y'all a secret? Can I tell y'all a secret? Thank you. I'm going to whisper it to you. Jesus loves you. Jesus loves you. In case you didn't know, Jesus loves you. He don't want you to be exhausted. He don't want you to be tired and worn out. He wants you to have a thriving, growing, vibrant relationship with him, that you and I are always excited about doing the right things, not doing things the right way, because you could do the wrong thing the right way. Being excited about doing the right things the way God has laid it out for us. That is what he wants for us. And that is why you and I should have the desire to say, Lord, I want to be yoked up with you. Because of your character, I can trust you. I can place my full confidence in you. Because you will lead me in the right way. Lastly, in verse 30, he says, for my yoke is easy and my burden is light. Jesus is inviting us to have a connection with him. He is inviting us into relationship with him. He says, my yoke is easy. Jesus by trade is what? What was he? Carpenter. Now I was going to look at Brother Lou and Brother Waddell because I'm like, y'all know the answer. Jesus was a carpenter. He was not a farmer. So what would he know about yoking oxen? Very simply this. Because he was a carpenter, he would have made the yokes. He was an expert yoke maker, in fact. So Jesus would make the yoke. And the process would be, if you were a farmer, you would take your oxen to the carpenter and bring your oxen and say, here's my oxen. This is my master oxen. This is the big oxen. This is what I'm going to plow with. And the carpenter would measure out and specifically prepare a yoke for that oxen. It was tailor-made for that oxen.
On three. 1, 2, 3.
Okay.
So he says this. As a carpenter, when I make your yoke, it is specifically for you. Minister Wallace's yoke won't fit me. Elder Riley's yoke won't fit me. Your yoke won't fit me, and my yoke won't fit you. Jesus says, I will specially prepare a yoke just for you, Sangster. Now, this is why this is important, because when he puts the yoke on, you don't want the yoke, the animals, to be too far apart, because they have to work really, really hard. You don't want them to be too close together, because they're going to rub up against each other, and it's going to become an irritant. He will perfectly space and place you and him so that there is harmony and rhythm when you walk. So God has a yoke just for you and nobody else. And he says it is easy. If it's not prepared properly, if the wood is raw and it's not treated, it will become an irritant on the back of the oxen. He says, my yoke won't be an irritant to you. It will be comfortable. It will be one that you can wear and you can embrace and walk in comfort with. But he also says it is light. The burden that I place on you, he didn't say I'm going to remove the burden. Check that. My burden is light. It's going to be there. Newsflash, folks, Christians, there's going to be some burdens you have to bear. If anybody tell you all your burdens are going to be wiped away, that's not true. Because if it was, Jesus would have said it then. He would have said, I will remove the burden. But he said, my burden is light. My load is light. The requirements for walking with Jesus Christ is light. It is not heavy. It is not something that's not manageable like the religious leaders, what they put on the people of that day. It's light. But guess what else he says? I am calling you into a relationship. Walk with me. Be connected with me. And here's why. You don't even have to carry the load anymore. I will carry the load. I'm carrying the burden now. It's not up to you. Your responsibility is to be yoked up to me. My job is to carry the yoke. It's to carry the burden. It's light. When you and I are connected to Christ, he says, you can get yoked up to me and it will be easy for you. It is easy to follow the Bible. All we have to do is submit and surrender to the Holy Spirit. He will tell us what to do and what not to do. All we have to do is say yes. Stop fighting our flesh and just submit to the Lord.
I know, no one does.
He calls us to rest. He gives us motivation because of his character to rest. And then he says, the reason that you get to rest is because you are connected with me. I will bear the load for you. Let me close with this. I told the story earlier. My daughter was a sophomore in college. She had come home. She was down in Atlanta. And her and her girlfriend drove from Atlanta to Denver. They ain't 19 years old. Y'all know me and mama ain't getting no sleep. Y'all know we thinking, now these two girls, and my daughter, y'all seen it, she ain't but this big.
You can go.
What was her name? Jasmine? It wasn't Jasmine. Mia. Mia was Jehovah's Witness, by the way. Not that that matters. But these two cute little girls driving across the country by themselves, and they made it to Colorado safely. Mia had never been to Colorado. So I said, girl, you can't come to Colorado and you can't go sightseeing because we got real mountains here. These ain't the mountains in Tennessee. No offense to Tennessee. These are real mountains. These mountains is made of stone. These ain't molehills. And so we got to give her the grand tour. So I put them in my vehicle and we drove up through city and rode around in the city. Then we got on I-70, went up to Georgetown, got out and we walked around. And then we were coming back from Georgetown and my car said, bloop. Bloop, 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 bloop. Bloop, 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 bloop. And I said to myself, that's not good. I pulled over. And it said bloop, bloop, bloop. Bloop. I turned it. It's dead. We ain't going nowhere. I pull out my cell phone and I call the mechanic. I said, hey, my car broke down. I'm just outside of Georgetown. Can you help me? He said, no, I can't help you, but I can send a tow truck. I said, great, we'll send a tow truck. So we sitting in the vehicle, and about 45 minutes later, the tow truck comes. And the tow truck comes. He sees me on the side of the road. He pulls in front of me. He bags up the tow truck, hitched my vehicle up to the tow truck. And we got out the car, it was a Jeep Cherokee, and got in the tow truck with the driver. And came back to Denver. See, I didn't have to push the vehicle down the hill. I didn't have to drive it. I got yoked up with the tow truck driver, and he did all the work. He carried us right on back to Denver. See, Jesus says when you get yoked up with me, you don't have to carry the load. I will carry the load for you. When you get yoked up with me, it'll be all right. See, if you want to get rest, you got to get yoked up with Christ. If you want to be refreshed, you got to get yoked up with the right person. You can't get yoked up with me because I'm going to drag you all over the place. You definitely going to need a nap and a meal when you get done hanging with me. But Jesus says, come to me. I will give you rest. If you come to me. Only requirements are you have to be tired of living the same old life. You got to be tired of just saying, I'm trying to do it by myself. I don't know where you are today. I don't know if you just showed up and you don't have a relationship with Jesus Christ. I don't know if you've ever surrendered your life to Christ. That ain't it. Well, we want to give you an opportunity to give your life to Christ. We want to give you an opportunity to get yoked up with the Master. And it's real simple. All you have to do is surrender your life. And so as our officers come, I just want to give you an opportunity. If you've never surrendered your life to Jesus Christ, say, you know what, Lord, I want to be yoked up with you. Because I'm tired of playing the games. I'm tired of trying to fit in with the religious community that don't accept me for who I am anyway. But I do believe what you said. If you're that person, you're sitting here today and you've never surrendered your life to Jesus Christ, would you come right now? Just come down front and talk to one of these two individuals. They could take you in the back and show you how you can have a relationship with Jesus Christ so that you can get the rest that you've desperately been seeking. At the same token, if you don't have a church home, you just kind of been wandering around and you've been going to bedside Baptist,